From the bleachers at Ladd Peoples Stadium at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, Josh Looney alongside Chiefs General Manager Scott Pioli. And Scott, this is the setting of the Senior Bowl, obviously, but it's also the setting where you take the last two Chiefs draft, there's 16 prospects, we've selected 8, that's half, our Senior Bowl alums. Is there any coincidence to guys coming out of here?
You know, I don't know if there's a coincidence or not, but this is, you know, these are some of the better players, allegedly, that are coming out in the draft. So I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, because, you know, we get to see seniors here, obviously, but then there's other underclassmen. It's, there's generally a good group of players here, Josh, so hopefully maybe that's a good sign that we're picking from this group here.
Well, there were 4 players selected in 2011 from this. There was Rodney Hudson, Alan Bailey, Jaleel Brown, and Ricky Stanzi. Thinking back a year ago from today, really, were any of those guys, can you think something they did here in Mobile that maybe improved them and caught the attention of the Chiefs?
Well, you know, it's interesting. The 2 stories out of it is Rodney Hudson. I think we saw a number of things down here because Rodney had played a couple of different positions. We saw him do a number of different things here, all the inside positions, and got a chance to see him live and in person, where you see him on tape from a stature standpoint, doesn't necessarily look the part, but then when you get to see him live and see some of those things, you know, see him actually play live, not just work out at the combine and things like that. You know, Rodney shows some things, and the flip side of that was, this was a week actually last year, I'm sure you remember, is, you know, Ricky Stanzi actually had a tough week down here, and a lot of people were very critical of Ricky. You know, his season had ended, and he had done some work with a quarterback guy, and some of his mechanics changed. He was in the process of changing some of his mechanics. It wasn't the best week for him, but spending time with Ricky, where I could actually, you know, follow up from the visit when I was at the University of Iowa and get to know him more, the time here spent with those guys was really, really helpful.
Well, first and foremost, this week is always about player evaluation, but you get through this, you get through the combine, and then you've got your boards kind of starting to sort out and free agency hits. So your position of needs may not be as needy when the draft comes around. How do the two kind of bounce off one another and correlate?
Yeah, it's funny because last year was a very weird year where we actually had the draft before free agency, if you remember. This year, we're back to what the normal flow of events is. And we'll head into this offseason knowing what a number of our needs are, what we believe them to be. Then we'll either re-sign some of our free agents or not. So that list may grow or change as to what our needs are. And you try not to force anything. What you want to do is get good players you think match your system, match your coaching staff. And we'll go into this and we'll go into free agency starting to fill some of those needs, maybe filling them from within with some of our own players, and or doing with other teams' free agents. You know, even when you get done with both free agency and the draft, as you find out, you've still got a list of needs. You go into training camp with a list of needs. So this is a good time. I just like that we're back to the normal way of doing things, where we have free agency, then the draft, and then we can continue to build the team.
I'll tell you, I have no idea what the definition of NFL ready player. I know it gets thrown a lot, and you read, this guy looks NFL ready after his Senior Bowl workouts. But when you're evaluating guys, let's say they're a 4-3 DN and they're out here in a 3-4 outside linebacker, or they played left tackle in college and out here at the Senior Bowl, they're going to play right tackle. What do you look for in guys that are kind of out of what they're used to and determining this may be his NFL position, but can he handle it? You
know, it's interesting. Some of the things that happen is you've got, with the guys that are seniors, generally 3 to 4 years of tape to watch them playing whatever their primary position is. Some of these guys started out at different positions. You know, Gabe Miller, for instance, was a player who actually started out as tight end at Oregon State, finished as a defensive end. And this is an opportunity to see players in terms of seeing what their intelligence is, what their flexibility is, what their desire is, whether or not they're willing to take some of the changes that happen here. There's a lot that you can tell by the changes in positions, but again, there's this week, but this 1 week of work also doesn't eliminate the 3 to 4 years that you see of them playing, you know, being a 3-year starter, 4-year starter, maybe a 2-year starter.